I was not a very good leader. I made mistakes that if I were to coach me, who ran that agency back then, boy, that would be a tough assignment because I was doing a lot of things. I really was. If I could go back, it would be different.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today our guest is gonna be Steve Chandler. He is an author of 30 plus books and the godfather of coaching. So I interviewed him on leadership and gaining confidence as a leader. This is perfect for you if you're growing your business and your business is becoming bigger and bigger and now your leadership level has to be elevated, or you just got promoted to a new leadership position. This would be very useful for you. From watching this again, I actually gained another level of, I guess, wisdom as well. So I hope you guys enjoy the interview as much as I did. Hi everyone, Kelly Lei here. I'm really excited to interview my mentor, my coach, Steve Chandler, the godfather of coaching. He's had written 30 books that's been translated into 25 different languages, and his latest book, Creator, helps us see that we're all connected through our energy and creative potential. So I want to interview him because not only he's coached hundreds of coaches, but his coaching, public speaking, and consulting has elevated CEOs and top leaders from anything from small businesses to Fortune 500 companies. So hi, Steve. Welcome so much, and thank you so much for joining me and for helping my audience to learn how they can build high-performing leaders like you do.
Well, thank you for having me, Kelly.
Yeah,
I'm honored.
Yeah, the honor is mine. And I'm just so excited to have you kick off my podcast. So, okay, so first question. In your opinion, what is the true meaning of leading and what is a leader?
I think I would probably answer this differently any hour that you asked me. So my answer would be different as we moved along because my thoughts about it, my understanding of it keep changing with every leader I work with. But if, let me just take this off the screen for me so I can see you. This is the beauty of technology. I think the most important meaning that I give to the idea of leadership is guidance through collaboration. So leadership is to identify a common game or a common mission, a common purpose for a team that I as a leader can articulate, talk about, inspire people with my love for the mission, and then through collaboration with the people I'm leading, guide us all as a team toward the reaching of the goals and in not only the success of the mission, which is usually measured financially or with some kind of outcome, but the day-to-day loving of the mission, I think, is so important and missing in leadership. So that's my rambling answer to your question.
Okay. Yeah, one of my clients actually is thinking like, how is that? I mean, I know the difference between a leader and a manager, and I do think that you can be a leader without being a manager. So what is your perspective on that?
In many cases, management is important. So there's a management component to great leadership. But when management is just shallow micromanagement, where the manager has a lot of expectations and is holding people accountable for their behavior and activities and productivity, but it has no heart and it has no grand vision it's just kind of like being a drill sergeant, or kind of like a critical parent. Most managers get their leadership style or their managing style from some memory of somebody holding them accountable to achieving something. So it is a little more shallow than leadership. But management done well is a very important part of an organization. Leadership encompasses more. Leadership includes elements of optimism, inspiration, and guidance, so that we're all awake to the why. Why are we doing this? And so leadership is a little larger than management, in my view.
So it's really, so in your view, it's really seeing the vision and going somewhere, whereas manager is holding people accountable.
Yes, that tends to be how it plays out in an organization. And there can be very good, compassionate managers who hold people accountable in ways that are dignified and that honor the people they're holding accountable. But their job is to hold people accountable for performance, productivity.
Okay. So which comes first?
Well, because one includes the other, all really good managers contain elements of leadership, and they rise to that. They go beyond their simple job descriptions. They seem to care more about the well-being, psychological well-being of the people they're managing. They take more time for that. And so I think the skill of managing, knowing the business, knowing the organization, let's say it's a nonprofit or a school, knowing what we're up to and why, and helping people fulfill what they've agreed to do and what their job assignments are, making sure things happen. That's management. And that comes first. Every leader must also be a skillful manager. But to rise above that and now become a true leader of an organization or a larger team, you add more capacities, masteries, and skills.
Yeah, so I work with teams that not have like all A players, right? And I'm sure a lot of leaders, especially in a big corporation, you don't always work with people that you love, but they perform, right? So these are people that perform and you want to keep them on your team, but react emotionally or angrily in some certain situations. So what are some of your suggestions for managing?
I think really good leaders learn to rise above those petty emotional reactions. I don't like this person. I like that person. I don't trust this person. Things that happen at the high school level with mean girls and nasty boys and that kind of dynamic where we label people. He's a narcissist. She's pushy. We get labels we put on people, and personalities are what we're always thinking about. In leadership, really good leadership, that is set aside, and there's more focus on agreements and respecting each other. So I don't have to love your personality. I don't have to, quote, like you to treat you well, understand you, learn to listen to you, treat you with respect, and create agreements with you that you have time to co-create with me. So I'm not just issuing orders, and I'm not leading by expectation, I'm leading by agreement.
So setting agreement is one of your
I think that's the most important
most
part.
important suggestion.
To me, Kelly, you know, all the leaders I've coached over the years, and even when I was a leader, I had an advertising agency that I ran for a few years. I was not a very good leader. I made mistakes that if I were to coach me, who ran that agency back then, boy, that would be a tough assignment, because I was doing a lot of things wrong. I really was. If I could go back, it would be different. But I think the leaders that I coach, the most important part that I've seen of leaders learning to be better and getting better results is creating agreements with people instead of just having expectations of people.
Yeah.
Two different approaches completely.
Yeah.
And leaders who learn how to create agreements where both people are committed to what we've agreed to, and we understand each other, and we can count on each other. That is such a better way to lead than I expect you to do this. I expect you to attend our meetings on time. I expect you to turn in your report when it's due, and I'll hold you accountable. I'll write you up if you don't. That form of leadership is very ineffective, especially in this age when our teams are more diverse and we have younger people who've grown up with different mindsets about work. And that old way, that old militaristic, hierarchical way of leading is less effective than ever before.
Yeah. So instead of expecting them and writing them up, so doing an agreement, can you give an example of an agreement?
Yeah, sure. So I once had a company hire me, and it was a Fortune 500 company, and they were getting very disappointing results in the factory. And the leaders would give orders. They would pass down, you need to do this by this time. You need to have these products ready for inspection by a certain date. And it was all, here's what I expect from you. Here's what you need to do. And they would send the messages out. But the people who received them would say, well, okay, I'll try. And they would not get the job done. So they hired me to work with the people who were not getting the job done. And they said, you need to fix these people. They're not performing professionally. They're not taking ownership of what we expect of them. And I said, that's not the problem. That won't work. I mean, they may be in better moods and take more ownership for a few weeks after a seminar. They get inspired, but it'll fade away because the way you're leading is not collaborative. You don't really work with your people. You have a relationship to the people that they don't honor because you make no attempt to understand what their job is. So they feel justified in not getting it done. Now, what happened was when they learned to lead by agreement, and it took a long time because at first they thought, well, I don't have time to do all these agreements. I need to send out emails of what I expect. But when they learned to take time to do it, it actually saved time, because if they expected a certain job to be done and the factory leader said, okay, I'll try, and then didn't do it, that was a disaster. But if they took time to say, we need this job done by Monday, can I get an agreement with you to have it done by Monday? Now, if the person said, well, I'll try, but I'm shorthanded, I don't have enough people to say for sure, then the leader was able to collaborate and say, oh, well, we really need it by Monday, so can I get you a couple more people for your team?
Mm.
And the person would say, okay, if you can do that, then yes, I can promise Monday.
Mm.
And so there's more collaboration going on.
Yeah. It sounds like more communication too.
Yes,
It's finding the actual, do we really need it by Monday? Right? If we really do, then you gotta add more people.
that's right. That's
Right.
exactly right.
Yeah. I see. So so then you mentioned earlier that like if you were coaching yourself back then, you know, you would it would be really tough for you to coach yourself. So what is something that you wish you've known as a young leader?
Well,
Is
I
it that you mentioned, or?
yes, it was basically a misunderstanding about human relationships and labeling certain personalities a certain way and allowing personalities and resentments to run the dynamic of the organization. And it descended into power trips or shaming people, like sometimes parents will shame the child and say, I'm very disappointed in you. You didn't do your homework this semester and you got a bad grade. You've really let me down. I'm disappointed. And so that kind of highly personal blaming and shaming, that's how people lead if they don't know any other way. And
Mm,
that's what I was doing. I mean, I didn't know I was doing it that way. I just, that was the only way I knew how to interact with other people.
mm,
And you identified a key word, communication. After I had a few years of learning and being coached myself, I began to see more and more the importance of communication
mm,
on any team, including families. The importance of understanding the other person and what the other person is up against and how it looks to them.
mm,
So that once I learned that, that's how I would coach the old me, is
mm,
take more time to allow your people to talk to you about the job you've asked them to do.
mm,
And take more time to allow them to tell you what it's like. So I had an art director and I had these different people in the advertising agency. And I took no time. I would just say, you know, we need these artists, we need these graphics done by Tuesday, whatever you do, whatever it takes to do it. You know your job, you're grown up, you don't need to be babysat. I just need them on my desk. And there was no partnership in that. There was no understanding of the other person. That's
mm,
that. And so I would have coached me to learn to respect the other people's world and where they're coming from and how it looks to them.
mm,
That's what I wasn't doing.
mm. Yeah, so it's good. So then, as a leader, and I know that you've grown your coaching practice and your coaching school that you have, like it's getting bigger and bigger as well. So you're leading more and more people, and I know that you've done that in your path. So we're always stepping into another level of leadership, I think, if we are really trying to achieve our full potential. So how can a leader gain confidence as they step into their new leadership role, you think?
Yeah, I think the confidence comes with it's funny because there's a willingness to have some humility and not try to prove. The less ego I have as a leader, the less I'm trying to prove I deserve to be the boss, and the more collaborative I am, and some people call that being a service leader, and the more I keep my word and keep my promises, the more confidence I have. So if I say this is what you can count on from me, somebody might say, well, we don't have the materials to do that job. And I say, I will work with the warehouse or the vendors. I'll get you those materials. And you can count on having those by Monday. Now, the more I make it a policy to keep those promises that I make to people, the more confidence I have, because the next person who comes in and asks me if I can help, and I say, I'll help you with that. Now my confidence is, I know I will help you because I'm developing the habit of keeping my word. And so that's all the confidence I need, is not confidence in my personality or confidence in me as a separate human being, but confidence in the principles I'm following as a leader and the personal policies and that I use when I lead. That confidence goes up because the more I fulfill and keep those. That's the heart of confidence.
So what are some of your principles that you...
Well, there are many of them. I'll give you one little example. So one thing that's really helped leaders with policies or principles, one principle is as a leader, I don't allow people to talk behind other people's backs. So if one person comes in to talk to me, let's say a person named Mary wants to talk about what John is doing wrong, most leaders that I coach and meet, they will listen to Mary for a long time and commiserate with her and say, oh boy, that John, I'll talk to John about that. That's not right. I'm sorry he's doing that. And then they'll call in John and say, John, listen, I've had a few complaints about you. And then John tells me his side of the story, how life occurs to him. And now I'm thinking, oh, well, Mary didn't mention that. So now I call Mary back in. I say, Mary, listen, John says this is going on and he doesn't have access to that data. And then Mary says, no, he does. And then I say, he does? And I call John back in. And you see how ineffective that is.
Yeah.
Over time. And so one principle is don't let that occur. If Mary is talking about John and she has an issue and it affects the team I'm leading, I say, Mary, hang on before you say another word. Let me bring John in. And the three of us will talk it through. Now, that's a principle of not letting people throw each other under the bus and talk behind everybody's back, not allowing that. It takes more courage from the leader to say, I'll talk to both of you and we'll get agreements, we'll resolve this. Because the leader doesn't want to sit there with two people who are angry at each other. That's not fun. The lazy way, or the mindless way, is to just talk. Whoever has a problem, my door's open, come in and talk to me, and we can both talk about how bad John is. Now that's easy. Two people talking about a third person, that happens all the time in families, as you know, or maybe you don't have that, but in families and teams and leadership, very ineffective.
Yes.
So that's just one. principle. And when leaders learn to do that, they save time, and also the relationship between John and Mary starts to change.
Yeah.
Because now they're talking to each other. Whereas before they weren't. They were just labeling each other.
Yeah, that's good. What I'm hearing is like there's a theme of like really as a leader you want to keep the relationship well within your team and communicate. So and by do really good communications and just really getting together to work toward the same goal is what I'm hearing.
That's right. That's it.
Yeah. So I think it gets a little bit hard to do, like as we're going to like this global, where everything is globalized, and actually a lot of teams, like people have to manage people that are like in different time zones or like even different countries. So what's your suggestion on how to do that?
You're right. And so what I want to do as a leader is use whatever communication I have available to make this happen. So maybe I can put two people on a call like this, on a Zoom call, and say, let's work. See, technology is such now that we can do a conference call, we can do a Zoom or a Skype or something where we're talking together. So I can still operate from my leadership principle of bringing people together. And I just want to communicate the best way I can. So maybe if I only have email available because I'm communicating to a time zone that's asleep right now, and my job as a leader is to make sure the email is warm, courteous, friendly, compassionate, and easy to understand, and that it invites questions and it requests confirmation that you received it and that it's understandable to you. Leaders don't do that typically. They just send the email out like, well, I hope everyone in Japan does what I told them to do. So whatever it takes, whatever is at your disposal technologically, to get more understanding and invite more collaboration. That's where I want to look.
Wow. Well, our time is almost up here. Is there anything that you want to add? Is there something that you wish you would have said about leadership?
No, I think it's a funny thing. Leaders tend to think compassion is soft and not appropriate to the really serious, important job we have to do. But if they're willing to experiment with it and move in that direction, they find that compassion strengthens relationships, makes everything more effective. That's the first thing. And the second thing is, as a leader, don't take things personally. Don't go back into high school and have cliques and have people you don't like and people you like. That's not necessary. It's tempting. It's what most people do. But I want to have it I don't want to take things personally, and I want to encourage my team not to take things personally. They get an email from some other person, they're all angry about it. You don't have to take it personally. You can work with it.
Thank you so much, Steve.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time.